In this photo taken in 1970, you see a Genie Wiley, a young 13-year-old girl, also known as the feral child, barely able to walk. For her entire life, her father had abused Genie, keeping her in a makeshift straitjacket and keeping her tied down to a children's toilet locked in a room all day. Anytime Genie would make a sound, he would growl and snap his teeth at her like a dog. Under these terrifying conditions, Wiley never learned how to walk or speak. This photo was taken at a hospital right after she was rescued. Her whereabouts today are unknown. In this disturbing photo you see a teenage Natalie Michelle during the 1960s in Germany with a terrifying demonic look on her face. She was a normal teenager, a devout Catholic, living an average life, when all of a sudden she started blacking out at school. Following that, she began to exhibit unusual behaviours like eating spiders, hallucinating and even drinking her own urine. Annalise claimed to be possessed by the devil, and her parents decided to put her through 67 exorcisms, none of which changed her strange change in behaviour before she died of malnutrition at age 23, weighing just 68 pounds. In the early 60s, son of New York governor and soon-to-be US Vice President Nelson Rockefeller, Michael Rockefeller disappeared somewhere in Papua New Guinea. In the photo you're seeing, Michael took his first trip here in May 1960. You can see the smile on Michael's face as the locals parade around him. The photo seems so innocent, but unbeknownst to him, he would never return from that trip. It's believed that the Amzat people, a cannibal group, killed and ate Michael. The group was known to behead their enemies and consume their flesh. The photo you're looking at may give you chills, but the backstory is far more disturbing. The photo shows the human doll owned by Natalie Moskvin. Natalie is a former journalist, college professor, and self-dubbed necropolist with expert knowledge of cemeteries. For many years, Moskvin would collect these dolls, but in 2011, police finally arrested him after increasing suspicion at the growing number of desecrated graves in his home city of Nizhny Novgorod. Natalie had been digging up the dead and making dolls out of their corpses. When police searched his home, they found 26 mummified corpses. Keith Sapsford was only 14 years old when he fell out of the wheel well and descended to his death in 1970. Photographer John Gilpin captured the final moments of the boy whilst casually taking photos while waiting to board his flight. The backstory was that the Australian teenager had ran away from boarding school and wanted to see the world, so he snuck onto the runway of Sydney International Airport and hid inside a Tokyo-bound plane. This is the photo taken moments before his death. On December 8, 1980, John Lennon would sign an autograph for a fan who was waiting outside of his apartment as Lennon was heading out for the night. Only hours later, at about 10:50 p.m, as John was making his way back to the building, the same fan who got the autograph, Mark David Chapman, would fire 4 shots into his back. John would be pronounced dead just 25 minutes later. In the picture is John Lennon and his future killer just hours before Mark David Chapman would take his life. In 1974, one Amityville House in Long Island housed a man who went by the name of Ronaldo Dagsa Jr., who would go on to murder both of his parents and 4 of his siblings in their sleep with a rifle. Many paranormal events began to occur in the house after the murders and even inspired books and films like the Amityville Horror House. The house's next owner, George Lutz, claimed the home was haunted and called in paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. One night, the automatic camera they set up captured this very image of a ghostly boy staring lifelessly into the lens. Some people believe it's the ghost of John DeFeo, who was killed by his older brother, Ronald DeFeo Jr., years earlier. This picture was taken on New Year's Day 2011 by Filipino politician Ronaldo Dagsa. In this haunting image, you see Ronaldo taking a picture of his family and his very own fate. The man seen in the background of the photo would go on to shoot and kill Ronaldo right after he took the picture. You also see a male in the background of the image who was apparently a lookout. Ronaldo was dead, but the photo survived and helped police catch the killer. William Hirons, also known as the Lipstick Killer, brutally stabbed Frances Browns to death in her Chicago apartment, leaving the knife sticking out of her neck before writing this disturbing message on her apartment wall in lipstick. The message reads, "For heaven's sake, catch me before I kill more. I cannot control myself." He'd go on to take one more victim after this before being caught. The Yoma bombing in Northern Ireland on August 15, 1998, claimed 29 victims and injured more than 200 bystanders. In this innocent-looking image, a man stands next to a car with his son on his shoulders. What they didn't know is the car next to them was wired with explosives and about to blow any second. The explosives were planted by the IRA, who at the time were heavily involved in terrorist activity. Moments after this photo was taken, so were the lives of the father and son, along with many others.